share sound. Okay, just checking. Can everybody see my screen? If you can see my screen, can you just get on the chat and say yes? Can you see my screen? There will be a weird black box for sure, just like yesterday. Okay. Hang on. How do I remove this? Hang on. My Zoom is acting up again. Give me a moment. I'm not sure what's going on. Okay. All right. So let's begin. Hi everyone. Welcome to day 2. So as you've met me yesterday, but a quick recap. I'm Jason. I'm here to help people and businesses with strategies and ideas so that you can grow and also you can stay relevant. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. Some of you already have connected with me on LinkedIn. Thank you very much. That would be at JSN Cruz. All my social handles are JSN Cruz. My website is jsncruz.blog. If you want to get in touch with me after the session, and if you're sick and tired of marketing, sales, and lead generation content, I also have a work life YouTube channel called Better Today with Jason Cruz. Okay, quick recap of day 1. The first thing that we learned was that the Philippine digital landscape has plenty of opportunities. This is the best time for you to get into digital post-pandemic because it's a great mix of people starting to recover from careful consumers. We're becoming slowly into braver consumers as the cases go down and as more people get vaccinated. A lot of people got really familiar with using digital channels to either learn more about brands, learn more about products and services, and also buy them with a huge quick rise of both digital payments and e-commerce. Second is that social platforms like Facebook and Instagram are good at generating your top of the funnel awareness for brands. So if you remember, we had Tofu, Mofu, Bofu, right? So top of the funnel is about reaching as many people as possible, funneling them down into a more niche audience up until you get to a point where it's small enough that they are most likely the ones who are going to convert for you as buyers. We also learned that a website is a critical component in your digital marketing tools because search is an act of intent from potential customers who are also future buyers. So always remember that do not be intimidated by websites. You can build them if you want to, just a few hours. There are loads of free templates available from sites like WordPress and Squarespace and Wix. And if you do want to invest a little bit more on your website to make sure that you have a nice looking name, hindi siya .wordpress.blog or .wordpress.com, it's not a lot of money. For 1,000 to 2,000 pesos per year, you can already have that permanent or almost permanent digital footprint for search because of your website. So do invest in having a website this year. Make that your goal. Before April ends, you should have a website already. I think that's a good goal to have. And for content, it can and should vary between different digital marketing channels. We also did an activity, which was a homework on your content plan. So I saw in my file that so many people downloaded it. So I am happy to see that. That means you're intending to do the homework. And I will actually ask for 3 volunteers this morning before we move on to show us one sample of a Facebook post, one sample of an Instagram post, and one sample of a website article. You had your worksheets. I think most of you downloaded your worksheets with the examples there, and you should be able to create a draft of your content for those 3 particular platforms. Okay, before we get to the sharing of your homework, can you just get on the chat and let me know what is your number 1 learning from the day 1 session? What is your number 1 learning from the day 1 session? I can't see if anyone is typing, but I am just waiting for an answer. For Emilia, marketing strategy by Zaragoza really stuck with you. The live Facebook covers, right? That was very clever. It's a lot of work, but it's very clever. Marketing strategy, Sabini Carl. For Marco, it's brave and careful. Yeah, the two customer groups. It's important to know. I first presented the brave and careful idea. I think I was presenting to SM Malls back in 2020. This is August 2020. And I was categorizing for them the two kinds of audiences that you should be talking to, which is your brave and your careful. And in 2020, that was a big deal, right? I mean, why would you go out talaga if you didn't have to? For Gonzalo, put yourself in your client's shoes. Always live their lives, right? For Daryl, the difference between awareness, consideration, and conversion. Very good. Don't forget the last two steps, retention and advocacy. Okay. See some more. What is your number one learning? Search and passive. Yep. Good one, Marco. I'm assuming you're going to build or you have a website already, so you know it's important. Catherine says my framework in complete terms, Akara. Yes. For Nasser, it's customer journey map. Super important. Customer journey map. If you know where you are in the customer journey map, you know where to play the game a bit better. There's one category, just a side lesson. No? There's one category among all categories where awareness and consideration is skipped completely. You know what category that is? Game apps. And I got to learn this when I had one of the CMOs of a game company was my student a few years ago. I think this was 2018, 2019. During the breaks and in live classes, I was grabbing my coffee and then he pulled me aside. So I mean, Jason, I wanted to share with you something. So the customer journey map he thinks is really great for long-term plays. But what if the brand doesn't actually want to build a long-term reputation or doesn't want to build a long-term marketing strategy? I was like, is there a category that doesn't want to build a long-term strategy? Then he winked and said, yung business nila, which is making game apps. So the name of the game pala for game apps is get as many users right now, and then if they leave the game after 3 months, okay lang. That's nuts, no? So that's their strategy. When they design games, they design it to last just 6 to 12 months. So they don't really care about awareness and consideration. All they need is for you to download the game and play it. And if you get bored after 2 days, okay lang. Kasi they need that big user base, like 1 million users, to get those ratings on Google Play, Apple Store, iOS Store. And then when they get the ratings, they're able to build a portfolio as a developer company. And then that allows them to get more clients down the line. So I don't know actually how it works for them, but it apparently does. So the race is to get to 1 million players in 3 months. And if you can do it, and the game dies after 6 months after, so 6 months after, so it's a 9-month lifespan of the game, okay lang. It's crazy, no? But I guess that's how they make it. Malvinia says, important tools on how to enhance and be productive in real estate. Okay, great. Thanks for sharing your number one learning from the day one session. So I'm going to stop my screen sharing because I am going to be asking for 3 volunteers to share with us your content plan. I'm not sure if you're able to share your screen, but I am pretty sure Marga can give you the permission to do that. I prefer volunteers, but if not, there's 147 of you. I can just pick 3 names, I suppose. Just share with us your content plan for Facebook, Instagram, and website. Again, I want to reassure you, there's no right or wrong answer, only effective ones and the ones that we can optimize. Okay, Marga said to me that you should be able to share your screens. But please raise your hand first if you'd like to volunteer or get on the chat. Para hindi sabay-sabay. I'll start from the very bottom of the list. Ivoni, are you here and would you like to share your output? Okay, I'm guessing that's a no. That hurts, huh? I'm gonna skip a few letters. What about, I see Rodel Riparit. Would you like to share your content plan? Okay, no problem, Ivoni. Okay, that rejection didn't feel too bad now. Rodel, don't do this to me. Any other volunteers? I'll pick some of the familiar names from yesterday. What about you, Melvinia? Would you like to share your output from yesterday? What? Ba't ka kakabahan? I am not dangerous. This is learning. No volunteers, not even one. If you haven't done the worksheet, that's fine. What I can do is I can take you through the worksheet then in that case. Let me go to the worksheet. How do I make this full screen? Okay. Okay. So in that case, I'll just take you through the worksheets. Again, if you haven't downloaded it yet, I see a lot of you are still on the worksheet. Hang on, it's blinking. Zoom's been funny for me this week. Just go to File, Download As, and you should be able to download it as a PDF. Anyway, so for the content plan, let's go first to Facebook. Give me a minute. My Zoom is flickering over and over and over again. Okay, so for Facebook, for your content plan, as you notice in the hang on, there's someone in the chat. Oh, no problem, Lavinia. Please drive safe. If you need to log off first for safety, please do so. Okay, so for Facebook, and for all the content samples, actually, what you will see is that there are four areas, there are four steps in the content plan that is permanent across all of the samples. You have the business objective, your communications objective, your customer journey stage, and also your post mandatories. What is the difference between a business objective and a comms objective, and why do we need both? The business objective is to ground you to ensuring that your content post has contribution to your business. It's kind of a waste of time, no? If you create content pieces that have absolutely no point for the business. Sure, it's patawa or it's pa-cute, and it makes you feel like a lot of people are engaging with it, a lot of people are liking it, lots of views. But ultimately, if it doesn't return anything to you as a business, as a broker, as a real estate company, what's the point? I'm all for content that gets a lot of engagement, but first and foremost, negosyo to. So you want to ensure that your content, something that it's delivering to your business. But now, if it's for awareness, then you go for the views, you go for the reach, and you go for the the more surface level performance metrics. But if you're trying to drive people straight into the down into the funnel, you want to be a bit more deliberate with what your business objectives are. So if your business objective is to generate more awareness, that's great. And that's exactly our example here for all the 6 samples that I'll be showing with you yesterday and today. We're going to talk about the Connor. That was, I thought, because the name of the building was cool. The Connor. So the business objective is to generate more awareness. It's a relatively new property. Not a lot of people know it yet. And if I search on Google, for it, and maybe this is more for the Ortigas team. If I search the Connor on Google, my Google search especially, it's a name. It's a common name, and it's a Western name. So a lot of the results are probably not going to be related to your building. That's the thing about when you name properties, maybe not to name it in a common name that could have millions and millions, and do have millions and millions of search results. So business objective, ano ba balik sa business? Anytime you do content, whether that's for Ortigas or for you yourself as a broker, think about your business objective. And for business objectives, this is quite clear. You either generate more awareness, you generate more leads, or you convert more sales. More often than not, it fits into all of these, one of these three. Generate awareness, generate more leads, and convert into sales. So convert into sales, you know already from yesterday, right? If you want to convert into sales, you need to have strong call to action, and you're trying to reach not as many people as possible, but the right people as much as possible. Com's objective, the difference here is what is that one thing that you want to say? In my live classes, I usually have this demonstration that I learned during my younger years as well from a career mentor. I would borrow someone's phone, I'll take a cup of coffee, I'll get my clicker, my pointer, and I'll get my own phone, and I'll get another item, basta 5 items yan. And then I'll get a volunteer na tatapok lahat over your way. Nakaka-panic siya, di ba? And the thing is, you're going to drop 3 out of those 5 things. You're going to catch 2. Why? Because you have 2 hands. There is very little chance that you will catch all 5 if somebody throws those things at you. What's the point here? If you are a customer and you're a viewer or an audience on social media specifically, and a brand tries to toss to you, throws at you 10 different messages, are you going to catch them all? No. I mean, you can't go all Pokemon mode on messaging. You cannot catch them all. You can only catch 1 or 2 things at a time. And it's not because we're not as smart because of digital platforms. No, I think we're smarter. It's just that there's so many things going on. There's so many messages that you're seeing and being exposed to on a day-to-day basis. Therefore, when we think about comms objective, the best brands, how you do it, is you tell people one thing at a time. Lazada will always tell you just one thing at a time, right? And that's usually my sale come in. One thing at a time. My sale come in, my sale come in, my sale come in. Shopee generally tells you one thing at a time. Download now, download now, download now. Think about the best brands in the world. They're usually just telling you one thing at a time when you look at their content. And that's how I want you to start thinking. That's how I want you to be more critical about ads and communication materials and flyers, etc. TV commercials as well, radio ads that you hear while you're driving. You need to be more critical. Try to identify what is the one message that this brand is trying to tell me. For KitKat, what is the one message that it's trying to tell you? Have a break. Take a break. That's all it is. For Nescafe, right? Wake up well. That's the one message that brand is trying to tell you. So for you, for this example, my one key message is to inform prospective buyers that Honor is a great investment in terms of location, property ownership, and proximity to nearby CBDs. So that's all. It's all about what's good about the Honor in that lens of investment, property ownership, and proximity. Very clear message, and that's what will guide how I say and what I say to my target audiences. Customer journey stage, as a few of you have mentioned, it's super important because that determines what kind of metrics that you will look at and what sort of content you will produce and what literal words you will be saying to your target audience. And because it's a relatively unknown property among prospective buyers, you are definitely in the awareness stage. And your post-mandatories will be the name of the development, the location, and also your contact details, which is to ask people to contact you. You want to try and drive them down the funnel, even though you're still at awareness stage. It doesn't hurt to add a call to action, asking people to send you a message, send you an email, or get in touch. Okay? What will change for the platforms that you'll see would be the caption or the copy or the video or the media that's there. So for all of you who have downloaded this, you don't have to look at my screen. You can actually look at your screen and do this along with me. So my example caption for Facebook would be to cut your home to work travel time to under 30 minutes. I'm putting the hook, the benefit pretty much at the very beginning of my post because that's what I want people to understand. I want to cut your travel time. when you tell people that you're cutting down their travel time, it already means a few things. It means na malapit ka sa office. It means na you probably won't get stuck in traffic and you probably won't have to commute. Okay? So cut your home to work travel time and then have the location there at the heart of San Juan, and then send me a message today and inquire. And then I have a sample image or video showing the rough I'll call it a drone shot view of the property or the area of the content. So when you're creating your content plan, you can have many of these. The way I would train my team is to use an Excel sheet actually, not necessarily a Word document. An Excel sheet will allow you to just have an endless scrolling of content plans, right? So as you look at it, as you all approve it together as a team, then it's just simpler, it's just easier. And if you're working with an external supplier or external agency for content, I usually have extra rows on the side that talks about approval dates and who is in charge of posting, who's in charge of approving that particular content. That's Facebook for you. Very simple formula for dimensions of the Facebook posts. Try to upload it in high res as much as possible, by the way, because Facebook will downgrade the resolution. For Instagram, what is slightly different is that in your caption, you can include a hashtag in the middle of your sentence. It looks natural. As I mentioned in my class yesterday, a lot of digital marketing professionals get very uppity about hashtags inside the caption. That's fine. You can put the hashtags in the comment sections. Then it looks cleaner. But for me, it doesn't really matter, especially if you're a customer. So for here, the caption is a bit different. It's sleeping longer because you can now skip Monday Madness traffic along Ortigas Avenue. And as you notice, the property photo is actually a bedroom. I saw this from ortigas.com.ph. I like this photo because it's very Instagram, right? It's aesthetic, it's lifestyle. It's not selling the property, it's selling the life that you want to live. And that's really how you should start thinking about Instagram. Sell the lifestyle, not necessarily the property. For some of you, by the way, who followed me on Instagram, I've gotten to take a look at your broker Instagram accounts. And my honest opinion is that you need to do a bit more of these content, a bit more lifestyle, because right now it looks like flyers. And if I see it on my feed, I'm just going to kind of skip past because I would see that on Facebook and websites anyway. I do not need to see a poster on my Instagram feed. I do want to see lifestyle content on my feed. And finally, for website, the slight difference here is that my business objective is not about awareness, because website is a part of the search ecosystem. It's an act of intent. People are searching now for more information. You've done your awareness on Facebook and Instagram. Now you want people to be curious. You want them to search about you. That's why for website, our business objective is a little bit different. It's about providing people information about the Connor Green Hills among urban millennials, etc., etc. And our article idea, just two things that you want to think about, that you should plan for when you're creating articles, is to start with the title. It's not a style that works for everybody, but when I was churning out 15 articles a month, much more people with long form content. Long form because it takes a few more minutes to consume the content of a YouTube video versus if you just saw it and read it on Facebook or saw it and read it on Instagram. It's just a few seconds, and then your brain kind of knows what the content is on Facebook and Instagram. Whereas on YouTube, kailangan, when nakaupo ka or you're looking at your phone, you're looking at your laptop, and you're really digesting the content that you're watching on YouTube. Treat it like a mobile TV of sorts almost, where, but this time, intentional yung channels that you watch. I think that's the great thing about YouTube. It is mobile TV, but you have full control of the content that you're watching, unlike traditional TV. And you can also capture audiences who are hungry for that TV experience. I sometimes find myself just on the couch binge watching YouTube videos. I love history videos on YouTube, especially medieval and I would say high medieval history. That's like my thing in the last 2 years, my pandemic hobby of sorts. So I sometimes find myself in front of YouTube for 2 hours, 3 hours. Because one video is like 40 minutes long. Talagang full documentary length. I would go through 3 or 4 of those. So if you're thinking about capturing audiences who have time to consume content, which is now, as more people are working from home, cutting down on their commute times, there's more time to consume long form content, which is why YouTube is a good opportunity for brands. For the platform itself is a source of useful, helpful, and highly informative content for many Filipinos. As mentioned, how-to videos are the number one uh, set of keywords that happen on this platform. And when you think about how-tos, it's people wanting to learn how to do something, which is why in terms of category growth, things like recipes have grown so much. Hair care and skincare have grown so much because people want to take care of themselves more. Gaming is a huge category in YouTube, so RPGs are increased in terms of search volume has increased so much. And people who want to learn more about like drama, TV series, yung mga behind the scenes, the making of, the interviews with the cast members, that those are all fast growing categories for YouTube. Now, how the heck does that relate to real estate, right? Recipes, what's that got to do? If you were in the session yesterday, you would have seen the case study that we talked about for Heinz, right? They sell ketchup, but they can't just sell ketchup. It's gonna be boring. It doesn't make any sense for people to like look at a bottle of ketchup and not know what to do with it. It's about thinking what communities, what categories in parallel you can push your products and services with. So for Heinz, they partnered with burgers and deliveries. Why? Because burgers photograph really well, much better than ketchup. Plus, their product is applicable on burgers and delivery services so that if people are liking their photos on Instagram, they could literally send that photo to people in the form of a real burger if they want to. So think about the parallelisms of other industries and how they can relate to you. Yesterday, we also talked about an example. If you really are adamant about talking to young parents, why not partner with schools? So that it's the teachers who are telling your audiences about the benefits of having a kid who lives near their school. So you can sell your properties that are actually nearby schools. It's coming straight from the school. Na it's a good thing for the students to be near that place that they go to 5 days a week. So opportunities for YouTube. You can be an influencer as a brand. When we think about influencers, the biggest error here is that you're thinking you have to have lots of followers, or you're thinking you have to have a certain look or a lifestyle angle. Not necessarily. If you are influencing a purchase decision, you are an influencer. And the brands that do this well are the ones that are informing people of how and what to do with questions that they might have. Which is why when you're writing your article ideas on your website, think about how you can transform that into YouTube as well. Because you're imparting knowledge, you're teaching people how to do things a certain way. One of my favorite YouTube channels when our condo was about to be renovated was Lowe's Home. It's like a Home Depot, but in the States. It's called Lowe's, Lowe apostrophe S. They have a ton of videos on how to fix things yourself at home. It might look counterintuitive on the surface. If you're a home repair and a Home Depot style company, why would you want people to do things themselves DIY? Because it's knowledge. And if you're equipping people with knowledge, who do you think they will run to when they need professional help? It's the brand that gave them that knowledge. There is a reason why when I was running learning sessions for DOT, we would teach businesses how to do digital marketing. And the content plan for these businesses under the DOT is to teach people how to travel, tipid tips, travel hacks, how to manage your COVID requirements per LGU. Because if you are the group or you are the city or you are the company that's teaching people, giving them knowledge, who do you think they'll go to? Where do you think they'll go to when they're ready to travel? They go to your locations because they know, they feel like it's familiar to them, because there's that sense of trust. We also discussed that yesterday, right? Consideration stage is about building trust. So when you start thinking about being an influencer as a brand, think about building trust. And building trust happens when you're providing information to your audiences that's useful to them, whether or not they buy your product or not. If you are useful for them, when they need that professional help or when they need a legitimate one-on-one session or advice, you are the brand or you are the broker that comes to mind because you've built that long consideration phase journey with your target audience. Second is if you don't want to be a brand as influencer, you can collaborate with creators and influencers. There are so many creators and influencers in the Philippines, from nano influencers, which is I would say my channel is probably a nano influencer channel, all the way to big celebrities with millions and millions of followers and subscribers. That's fine. If you have a niche that you found that you want to own or that you want to enter into, you can look for creators and influencers within this space. Last week, I gave a talk with one of the more famous financial influencers in the country, Chinky Tan. And we're thinking about collaborating with his knowledge on financial advice for millennials and with my entrepreneurship and digital marketing programs for millennials. Imagine if we combine those. We're thinking of doing something like that on LinkedIn because that's where our communities are. It's about collaboration. If find creators and influencers that can help strengthen areas that you need help on. So for me, I'm not a financial advisor, but I can give a lot of advice on small businesses and entrepreneurship. He is not a digital marketing professional, but he's very, very good at financial advice. So imagine us combining those two things. We have a new, fresh piece of content for our audiences. And speaking of, you could also explore cross-industry content topics for real estate, banking, insurance. What else? Travel. There's another one. I would say the hotel industry as well, the hospitality industry. These five categories that I've worked on. One of my biggest opportunity miss moments for me, with your line of business is that it's quite narrow in terms of specialization, and you only tend to talk about that for your customers. So, for example, real estate, we always talk about amenities, we always talk about location, we always talk about pricing. There are other ways to sell real estate. Think about how the person who buys the property lives. When I got this condo, it was very important to me that there was a place I could run. It's a closed village, and it's a condo within a closed village, so I could actually go out of the condo and go on a run and feel very safe. That was very important to me, and that was not sold to me by the company, but my broker, who's my thesis mate back in college. She knows that outdoor sports and running is super important to me. So the way she sold it is that look at all of these new roads. It's extending at the back. You could probably do a 5K easily in one loop in this village, and it actually is 5K in one loop. So tell a story for your audiences and your potential customers across industries. It doesn't have to be about. I mean, this is real estate property, but the story that was told to me by my broker is about health and wellness. It's about pursuing what I am passionate about, which is outdoor sports. Think about cross-industry topics to open up the world of content that you could potentially have. One interesting thing that IKEA is doing here in the Philippines is that they are not talking to people who are passionate about furniture. That kind of doesn't make sense. Plus, there are a lot of local furniture makers that could potentially beat them on price. Very difficult, but yes, they can be beaten on price. It's still seen as an important brand. But IKEA, what they've done is that they've latched onto communities who are mga people who live by themselves, single dwellers in a studio unit or in a one bedroom unit, and that's what they're doing with their partnerships with groups like Home Buddies. It's about identifying communities that their products and services have a slight connection to, not completely, a slight connection to, and make themselves more relevant. I was speaking with our contractor last week, and they got really into IKEA because of cooking. They wanted to cook, and they knew that as newbie cooks, they're going to be staining surfaces. So they wanted to find good quality, affordable surfaces for their kitchen, something that they can replace if it gets super stained, get damaged, or it gets burned or something. And for them, IKEA popped into mind because it's relatively reliable and it's cheap and cheerful. Imagine that. The need was actually to have cheap and cheerful surfaces for cooking, but they ended up with a brand, and now their entire house is pretty much filled with IKEA products. So think about cross-industry relationships, and for real estate, there's a lot. Transportation, I think food, family lifestyles, health and wellness, dami potential ways to sell your properties or your retail spaces. And for YouTube, you have to explore new long-form storytelling as well. So if you remember yesterday, we have 5 key insights per platform. Here are your 5 key insights on YouTube and how you can maximize your visibility. The first is to think about long form storytelling. It's uniquely long form with people expecting to consume longer content. From 3 to 5 minutes, I've seen content as long as 20 minutes. I think a typical AV properties or pre-sell house tour nowadays, minsan 30 minutes pa nga yan eh. It's very long. It's a time investment for the customer. But that is the nature of YouTube. There is willingness to sit through long content as long as the formula of the content is correct. And I'll be sharing you the formula of the content in a couple of slides. Think about building up a brand channel for you as well. It's an opportunity for you as a broker or you as Ortigas to create your brand channel to build credibility. Think about your YouTube channel as a video version of your website. If you have a YouTube channel or if you have a website, you just seem a bit more credible to your prospective customers. That's important because there are so many competitors. There are a lot of people selling the same things generally out there. So that credibility level needs to be higher for you. And part of that is building a strong presence on search platforms like websites and YouTube. The third is you can even think about YouTube as a new revenue stream for you. The classic way of thinking about revenue stream for YouTube is through subscribers. If you have lots and lots of subscribers, you have lots and lots of watch time. If you have lots and lots of watch time, you have lots and lots of ads. But that's not the only way that it can be a revenue stream for you. For example, I use my YouTube channel as a way to get speaking engagement invites. Companies would see my work-life content and they have a team building activity. They would invite me to speak about one of my topics on my YouTube channel, and it becomes a revenue stream for me through speaking engagements. So think about it that way. If you're an expert in your field and you are all experts in this field, this is a potential way for you to become the speaker on real estate. You can be the person that people ask questions to when it comes to property ownership. What about CBD specializations? I'm very proud of the fact that for my friends who get lost in BGC, I'm the person that they call because I lived there for 5.5 years, worked there for 8 years, and I run there from before there were a lot of buildings. I started running in BGC. So if you tell me a lane and a street or an avenue or an average avenue versus a lane, I can tell you where you are. I can tell you where your landmarks are and where you should go. And I even to a certain degree memorize where certain artworks are. So when my parents visited Manila, I looked at the BGC and I showed them all the hidden art pieces around BGC. There's at least 25. I'm that guy for my friends. Can you be that person for your audiences, but at scale? If someone has a question, I'm thinking of investing in San Juan, in the San Juan area. What are the top 3 condos that I should take a look at? What are their pros and cons? Imagine if you're the person that can just rattle off with your expertise, the properties, the dynamics of traffic, what time it's best to leave your parking so that you get to work in 20 minutes. Diba? If you're that kind of person, that's knowledge that people will pay for. You can be a real estate consultant. And fourth is something that I learned from my own personal YouTube journey when I would watch Think Media content. The founder of that channel says the riches are in the niches. And I really believe in that. The more specific topic you can address, the better it is for your channel. My best performing video is LinkedIn Learning worth it? And that's such a very specific thing. First, you have to know what LinkedIn Learning is. You have to think about taking it because it's paid, and you are now judging whether or not it's worth it. It's a very specific need. Not a lot of people are going to look for it, but that's probably one of my most commented content pieces because a lot of people are asking what do I think about the certificates that happen after LinkedIn. Another one is I had content on how to, I think this is about toxic office Pinoy culture, and I have a lot of messages from young Gen Z first jobbers about how to overcome Pinoy toxic culture. I've given a talk on toxic office culture for 2 companies as well because it's a very specific topic. So when you're thinking about your YouTube channel, it cannot be too wide. That's something that I'm learning as well. Sometimes I go a bit too wide. I try to talk about topics that I have absolutely no reason to anymore. So try to go a bit more niche. The more specific you are, the better you are going to perform when it comes to your YouTube channel. And finally, you can use your YouTube channel to drive retention and also loyalty. If you remember our Akara journey, letter R, retention, if you are keeping people for a few minutes in an asset that you own, telling them messages that you wrote, messages that you want to tell them, you are retaining their attention, you're retaining their time, and ultimately this drives that loyalty for you, not just the broker, but the brand that you are representing. So that's more of a benefit rather than an actionable thing. But if you do the first 4, generally okay, you can drive better retention and loyalty for your brand. Okay. And of course, when we talk about YouTube and real estate and the Philippines, we have to go with what I think is best in class example, which is Priscilla. I'm just showing a shorts because their videos are super long, right? About 25 to half an hour minsan. So learning points on how Priscello does it. And after seeing probably more than 30 Priscello videos as we were looking for inspiration, we're building a house kasi this year. So as we're looking for inspiration, we've watched so many Priscello and AV properties home tour videos. One of the things that draws people to them, and you can see it in the comment section, is that the cinematography style and the vibe, it shines through. It's very light. It's not serious at all. You want to go to the house. You want to listen to the host. You want to know what that room is for, and you want to know how that window opens. It's a very light vibe, and that only happens because of the second point. There's a charismatic face for the brand. Uh, this might sound harsh, but it's not a knock on anybody. But sometimes there are people who are great at presenting, and there are people who aren't. That's something that can be learned, though, which is a good thing. But if you want to get up and running on YouTube, you need to be very comfortable in front of a camera. I've seen a lot of house tours from other developers and other property brokers aside from Priscilla and AV properties. The host is just not charismatic. The way they speak is broken. They stutter. Sometimes the language is a bit strange. The grammar construction is weird. It doesn't make for a good listening experience. Now you might say, pero that shouldn't matter, right? It's the house that people are looking at. That's true, but you have to listen to the host. You have to look at the host. And this is where a bit of showmanship needs to happen, where you need to be very comfortable talking to people. It can be practiced, of course. It can be practiced. It can be learned. I learned it. I'm not a natural, but because my mother was a teacher, and I remember sitting in her classes. I kind of took her style. I'd added my style throughout time, and my career is all about presenting to people because I'm a strategist. I have to present to clients what I think their businesses should do. So it's practice. I'm not better at this than you. The host of Priscello is not better at this than you. It's just that we've had more practice. So you do need to practice if you want to be the face of your brand or your brokerage or yourself on YouTube. You do need to be very confident about how you look on camera. Now, if you don't want to be a face on camera, which is fine, a lot of YouTube channels do that. You have to be comfortable speaking to an audience, even though you can't see an audience. Right now, I can't see any of you. So I'm just staring at my camera and hoping that you're listening. But yeah, it's fine. It takes practice. So you need to be eloquent. You need to be very comfortable. Otherwise, your channel might not get the viewership that it should be getting. And use storytelling techniques as well to keep your audiences engaged. Speaking of storytelling techniques, let's go to the next slide. This is from YouTube Brandcast. It's an annual, or I think it's like a semi-annual now workshop by YouTube for brands and agencies and consultants on how to do better on YouTube. For Brandcast, one of the key tenets that they have is that this is traditional TV. We need to move towards the heartbeat model called the emerging story arc. Why is it the heartbeat? Because it goes up and down and up and down and up and down. Whereas the traditional story arc, it always has the build up and then it builds tension. There's a big climax or a big reveal in the middle, and then it offers you a benefit or a payoff, and then the brand comes towards the end. This is how TVCs do it, because TVCs have a lot of time. They can start with the music first, right? Music, and then minsan dark pa yung screen, and then nagkakaroon ng konting tension, you're wondering what's happening, and then they show the plot twist, and then there's a call to action to the audience or to the customers, and then they show the logo of the brand in the last 6 seconds. This is not good in the digital era, because at this point, if it's not interesting, people will click off. People will just leave your video if the first 6 to 10 seconds is not interesting at all. There's a reason why YouTubers, right, the way a lot of YouTubers start the video is that in this video, you're going to learn about ABC. I already told you what you're going to learn. So if you like it, if you find that it's relevant, you're going to stay. But if it's not relevant to you, you're gonna leave, and that's fine because that video pala was not relevant to you. I don't want to piss you off. So I told you already what the video is about. If you're not gonna stay for it, that's okay. At least you knew what it was about. The way to do it on YouTube, and this can actually apply for your long form video on Facebook as well, is that you always start on a high. Start off with a big storytelling plot point or a key point or a plot twist, and then you show your brand at the very beginning. This is a bit of a concept that I'm torn with because showing the brand at the beginning is gaming the system. You want people to know who it was that said it. If they click off, at least they remember, si Jollibee yung gumawa ng video na yun. Do you remember what's the content? No, they don't. But at least they know the brand. That's kind of sad, no? At least you know the brand. But it's how it works in an era where attention spans range from 6 to 12 seconds. We just have to make sure that they know what they saw was a brand that you are affiliated with. So show it at the very start. These two things should happen in the first 5 to 10 seconds. Just so you know your customers know what they're getting into. And then what you can do is in the middle of the video, there's an unexpected shift. Maybe there's a surprise, there's a plot twist, and then you kind of shock them again or surprise them again or make them laugh again in the middle before you pan out or you end your video on a lower downturn. Why does this work for YouTube? Because the name of the game is to get people to stay as long as possible in the video. So if they stay around like the 75% point, that's okay. That's a win. That's a very good statistic already. Don't expect people to stay all the way to the end. There will be people who do that, but the vast majority will probably find another video after a certain time. So try to tell all of your important stuff at the very beginning, and the reward for people could be at the end. Like promos or giveaways, you can do it at the end to reward those who really stayed for the video. Some YouTubers will even do things like if you're still here at the end of this video, have a promo code for blah blah blah. That's to reward those who are staying longer. But in terms of your story arc, when you're writing your script for YouTube, think about the heartbeat model rather than the hill model. Next, from YouTube Brandcast is the ABCD of YouTube. So this is your additional tips and tricks from YouTube themselves, the ABCD. Attract, as I mentioned earlier, you want to attract attention from the very beginning. From the start, you want to make sure that the first 5 to 10 seconds are interesting. People know what they're getting into. B for brand, integrate your brand naturally and meaningfully. What does this mean? Don't force fit a mention of your brand. Try to talk about your brand in the context of a sentence, in the context of a script, or a learning point if you're doing a listicle style video like how I do it. C would be to connect with the viewer through your storytelling. Give them a flow. I think that's super important, something that I'm also struggling with sometimes. How do you do a flow if you're doing a listicle? Then just try to make sure that each point leads into another well. As the example of the website earlier, there are three reasons why people should live near work, right? They can sleep in, they can cut down on traffic, and travel time, and they have time to have breakfast. So those things are relevant to people who might want to live near their work. And finally, be direct. And this applies to any digital channel. Tell people what you want them to do. Customers are not stupid, but we can be very lazy and we can be very distracted. So tell us what to do. Do you want me to subscribe? Do you want me to click that link? Do you want me to watch the next video? Do you want me to leave a comment? Don't be shy about telling people what to do, because will do what you want them to. Okay, at this point, any questions? If you have no questions, just type no, or please feel free to use the Q&A box so I can address them during our longer Q&A later. Okay, no question. Are you okay to have a quick 5-minute break? Just banyo break or coffee break? Just type okay if you want a break. Okay, great. It's 10:11. Let's get back here in 5 minutes. I'll see you at 10:16.